It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of April 9th, 1993. We've got 6 movies to look at today, so let's not waste any more time. Let's just jump on into it, and we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, the erotic drama Indecent Proposal, starring Robert Redford, Demi Moore, and Woody Harrelson. So this comes from Adrian Lyne, the director of Fatal Attraction and Jacob's Ladder. This is actually a return to a box office success for him after Jacob's Ladder was not a big hit, but I would still say Jacob's Ladder is a better movie than this particular film, but I do really like this movie a lot. I like the idea of it. This idea that this couple would be interested in this billionaire who basically gives them $1 million, who says, hey, I'll give you $1 million if you let me spend a night with your wife. And it sounds like a topic that you would never even think about, but honestly, the more and more I think about this movie, this is actually kind of a movie that feels like it's ahead of its time. It feels like a movie that back then nobody would ever admit to even thinking about that, but nowadays when you see the way kind of the world is, I would think most couples would probably look at this and say, we'd probably never do this, but hear me out. Let's just think about this. And it is kind of an interesting topic to talk about with this movie. It's a very intriguing idea. It's a very interesting situation. And the performances in here are overall very good. Woody Harrelson and Demi Moore are very convincing as the couple. Robert Redford is very good as this billionaire. There's a lot of genuinely good little twisted turns here and there about where the story goes and how this is going to end up playing. And it's a movie that really, I think, is a lot better than a lot of people would have given it credit for, because it did not get good reviews at the time. In fact, when the movie came out, the year after it came out, it was listed at the Razzie Awards as the worst picture of the year, which, when does anyone take the Razzie seriously? These are the same people that just basically take a movie that was that's either a notorious bomb or stars people that they don't like and just say, that's the worst movie of the year, when there are far worse movies that came out in this year. And let me just give you an indication of the movies that were nominated in this list. There was also Cliffhanger, which we'll get into that one eventually, Last Action Hero, Sliver, and Body of Evidence. Now, of all 5 of those movies, one of those movies was downright terrible, and that was Body of Evidence. The other ones, they range. We'll get to those when we get to those ones eventually. We've already covered Body of Evidence, but yeah, that should pretty much tell you how much the Razzies don't really care about being consistent, or not even consistent, about actually looking at the worst movies of the year. They're just looking at the movies with the biggest names, and they're just going off of that, which, yeah, bottom line, nobody ever takes the Razzies seriously, but this movie really is not that bad. It's a movie that, like I said, it's not the best movie that Adrian Lyne has directed, but it has a lot of intriguing ideas. It has a lot of very interesting scenarios that, again, people back then probably wouldn't even thought about, but but nowadays it's like, well, this isn't the craziest thing ever to think about, but yeah, it's an interesting movie. I think it's a very interesting movie. One that kind of holds up over 30 years later. It's a movie that I think a lot of people should generally look at again, and you might be pleasantly surprised by what you see by it. It's a fun little movie. It's a very decent movie. It's a decent drama, great acting all around, and a great plot to work with. It's a pretty good film overall. I'd say I definitely recommend it, but don't expect something on the other lines of some of Adrian Lyne's best works. I'm just saying. So. That's Indecent Proposal. Now let's get to the next movie, which is easily the best new release of the weekend, and that is the family classic, The Sandlot. It's interesting. I watched this movie a long time ago. I really didn't get too invested in it. I remember watching it as a little kid, and I was just kind of like, okay, that was kind of it wasn't anything special, at least to me at the time. I will say, though, as time has gone on and this movie has aged a lot more, I've really grown to love this movie a lot, and now I can definitely see what everybody's been talking about, and how this movie became a cult classic. Just so many memorable moments to it. These kid actors are pretty good. The comedy overall is very fun. It's just an enjoyable movie. It's a pleasantly fun movie with a lot of great ideas, a lot of great interesting concepts, really funny jokes, really quotable lines. I mean, a lot of great memorable moments of this film. The dog in this movie is great to watch. Just the creative ideas that they have in this movie, and it's just a ton of fun all around. It's a movie that you look at and it's just like, yeah, this is the type of movie that looking back, I probably would have loved this more if I really looked into it more. But as an adult, I can definitely see why this movie has had the lasting following that it's had. It's a terrific film, a great cast overall, a lot of fun all around, a lot of great visuals, a lot of great ideas. It's just an amazing movie. It's a movie that has held up well over the test of time. And honestly, Roger Ebert pretty much said it best. This is kind of like a summertime version of A Christmas Story, kind of. And really, it's kind of like that, because A Christmas Story is another one of those movies that didn't get the best following at the time, but it had a following that grew and grew over the years. And with this movie, you could definitely see that. I could definitely see this movie having that same kind of a following. And yeah, it's just a ton of fun all around. If you haven't seen The Sandlot, you're really missing out on one of the best coming of age movies ever. Definitely check it out. You will not be disappointed by it. None at all. With that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Chuck Norris in Sidekicks. Yeah, this is a weird concept for a movie. Turns out it was actually the pet project of a Houston furniture outlet owner who was good friends with Chuck Norris. He actually invested $8 million into the production of this movie, and Chuck Norris, who did a lot of TV commercials locally for his company, suggested the idea of creating the film and having him agree to finance and produce the film. And it's a crazy idea. I mean, this kid. There could be some fun with it, but just the script overall, it just eventually turns into a Karate Kid knockoff, and you can see it at the end of the trailer that it is pretty much a Karate Kid knockoff, and not a very good one. It's just like, it's got some good actors to it. Jonathan Brandis, who would later go on to find success with Sequest, Bo Bridges as his father, Mako, Joe Piscopo, Danica McKellar from The Wonder Years, Richard Mull. Just a great cast overall here. Where the movie I think starts to lose me is that when Barry has these fantasies, like, you would think that, okay, he's a teenager, he should be having fantasies about the teenage girl of his dreams, but no. Every time he has one of these fantasies, he has to go save somebody. It's usually his teacher, and it's just like, I think you guys really do not understand how this is supposed to work, because that just makes no sense whatsoever. And it's just, and like I said, most of the biggest problems with the movie comes from the fact that it is a straight up knockoff of the Karate Kid, and a really bad one. Like, they try way too hard at the end to mimic the Karate Kid climax, because it's literally the same climax as the Karate Kid, except it's Chuck Norris teaming up with Jonathan Brandis, and yeah, Chuck Norris actually does help him win this in the end in real life, because he actually is there and decides out of nowhere to just say, you know what, let's team up against these guys. And it's just like again, I don't think you understand how this is supposed to work. It's just like, man, there's just opportunities in this movie that don't make no sense whatsoever, and it shows on screen. Like, too much over the top acting, too many jokes that fall flat, too many story elements taken straight from the Karate Kid. It's a mess. It's a mess of a film on so many levels, and it definitely shows on screen. So that is Sidekicks. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Bodies, Rest, and Motion. So this movie basically follows four friends who are interested in the relationships they have and changing their own lives, but along the way, their interests in life and each other start to change. You got Bridget Fonda, her father, Peter Fonda, in this movie. You also have Phoebe Cates, Tim Roth, Eric Stoltz, Alicia Witt. That's pretty much all I know about it, because I have not seen this movie. I can't really comment on it too much. This director, Michael Steinberg, has actually done some other works, notable works, and they range. Like, they're varying in different things. Like, you have There's Something About Mary. He was one of the producers on that. And then he goes on to do Wicked with Julia Stiles. Not the Wizard of Oz Wicked, but a thriller called Wicked. And then he does The Cave, which was the notorious 2005 thriller, and then Hellride. So you've got this guy who's done so many different movies, and I don't think this movie could be bad. I think it actually has a lot more good to it. But again, I can't really comment on it too much because I haven't really seen it. So it's something I have an interest in, but it's not something I'm going to rush out to see very quickly. So that's Bodies Rest in Motion. Now let's move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is This Boy's Life. So this is a movie I never even heard of, even though it has a great cast to it. I mean, not only do you see Robert De Niro, Ellen Barkin, you also see Leonardo DiCaprio, one of his early film roles, but also Elijah Dushku's in this, Chris Cooper, Carla Gugino, Kathy Kenny, Tobey Maguire, one of his early film roles, Garrett Graham. Just a great cast overall, directed by Michael Caton Jones, best known for directing some movies that we've looked at already, Scandal, Memphis Belle, Doc Hollywood, and it has some pretty good reviews to it. It's a movie I've never even heard of until now, and I don't know why, because it definitely looks like something that could be very interesting. It definitely looks like it's something that's very good, but I've never even heard about it until I looked it up. So, like, obviously I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on it too much, but some notable things about it. It's the first movie that DiCaprio and De Niro collaborated on, which would be the first of several ones, including Marvin's Room, the short film The Audition, and then they're going to be pairing up again for Killers of the Flower Moon. It's actually the first collaboration of Maguire and DiCaprio, who've worked on a couple of films, Don's Plum, and more recently, The Great Gatsby. And like I said, it could be something pretty good. It's not something I haven't seen. It's something I haven't seen, I should say, and it's not something I'm going to rush out to see quickly, but it could be good. So that's This Boy's Life. Now let's go ahead and move on to the last movie of the week, and that is American Friends. So as the trailer indicates, this is based off of stories from Michael Palin's great-grandfather, Edward Palin. The movie's based off a real-life incident that happened, and it's pretty much, I mean, it's pretty much what the trailer indicates. I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really comment on it too much. You see Alfred Molina in there. You see Trini Alvarado, who would later become known for starring in Little Women, The Frighteners. Who else is in here? Anybody else that I would know right off the bat? No, no one that no one that I would know right off the bat. But I mean, Michael Palin can be a pretty good, decent actor outside of his comedic roles with Monty Python. He's proven to be a really good dramatic actor. So this could definitely be pretty good. So again, not something I'm gonna rush out to see pretty quickly, but it could be definitely something that could be pretty good. So there you go. That's American Friends. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we'll jump into the movies of April 16th, including Wesley Snipes in Boiling Point, Johnny Depp in Benny and June. We also have No Place to Hide, White Sargasso Sea, and also the story of Kwaiju. So, 5 movies to look at. We'll definitely delve into those on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.